All right, hello. Okay, usually I try to do a live right now, but I wanted to record a video so that it's available for just multi-purposes because I've had a lot of questions about sourdough from people that are in my customer group, people that are not in my customer group. So I just wanted to record a video that could be shared anywhere about sourdough and like what's the deal with it. I think a lot of people think it's some like extravagant, like how much work is it, all that kind of stuff. But people are encouraged and trying to figure out what is it exactly? And so there's definitely, like anything in life, there's multiple ways to do it. So I'm just gonna share some things that I do, not necessarily like the how-to. You can really look that up simply through any link, just like how to make sourdough starter. You can look that up. So mostly what I want to share is not necessarily like how much of this, how much of that, but more so like how much work is it? How does it flow into your life? And like what exactly do you do? So most importantly, like anything, find what works best for you and your family. And that might take some like trial and error. I have learned certain recipes just work well for one because I've tried them out at different times of the day and realized, okay, this is a really bad time to make it because the next step, there's this waiting period, right? And so the next step kind of needs to be done within some type of time frame. And again, different recipes, look them up, see which ones you like, try them out, all of that once you get your sourdough starter. And if you live local to me and you want some starter that's already active, then that can help the process to avoid that beginning stage. The beginning stage can be very like timely. It can take a couple weeks to even get it going to a point where you can use it for recipes. So getting a starter from somebody else eliminates that process because that's already taken care of and it's already in a live state. So then you can just pass it on and stuff. Okay, so here's what I typically do. I have this right here behind you. I'm not very systematic. Like I'm not very routine with everything. What I do try to do is feed my starter. You gotta feed it. And so right now it's starting to rise up. It started right here and it's about doubled already. So it's starting to get, and it's very bubbly. You want it to be bubbly. I don't know if I can show you that or not. I'll try. I will try. So it's very like bubbly, which is good. It's like a sign that, hey, it's activated. The fact that it rose, and it doubled overnight. I just had it on my counter. The warmer condition you put it in, so sometimes I put it in my oven with the light on, the warmer it is, the faster it should be active. The colder it is, the slower. It's kind of like us, right? Somewhat. If it's too hot too, like it won't do good. It can't be too hot. Just like if we get too hot, we're like, okay, tapped out. But if it's too cold, we're also like hibernation mode. And that's how this will work too. So if you want, this is something that's really simple to do. If you're not making bread very much, as soon as I feed it, I'll put it in my fridge. And then it does a very, very slow rising to the point where like once a week I need to refeed it, like discard half of it and then refeed it. And if any of these words that I say like discard or something like that doesn't make sense, it's because there's just some basics you need to know about sourdough. So again, go into YouTube, go into Pinterest, something like that, and somebody will walk you through what to do with a sourdough. This is just to like, hey, if anybody's interested in what the long-term process looks like, this is what it looks like once you already have it active and you want to be making bread. So what I did last night around 7 o'clock, I have different recipes, right? A recipe that I make all the time. So like once you find a recipe, keep it. Like I make it all the time. And then there's a recipe that I haven't made yet that I'm really excited to make. Now, when I went to go make it last night, I realized like the rise time of it is like the timing for stages, it wouldn't have worked out for last night. However, my starter was ready then. It was at its peak point and actually it was about to start coming down, and I don't want it to come down because you really want it to be at its, like, I think in my opinion, you want it to be in its livest state. That's not right. Anyways, the most lively state of it. You want it to use that for your bread. So I didn't make this because I'm like, well, that doesn't work for me. And thankfully I have this recipe that I went back to. It's like super simple. They're all pretty simple anyways. It's just like what your timeline looks like. And so again, had to use it right away. And so I made this bread. I know this isn't overnight. Like you just do something 30 minutes after it happens. And then like you fold it. Correction. You mix it and then you let that rest for 30 minutes. Then after it rests for 30 minutes, you fold it. And then it just sits for 8 hours. It sits for 8 hours. And I'll show you. And so then I woke up this morning and after I took Lindsay to school, I rolled out my dough mat. I do like having a dough mat. Yeah, you can put it right on your counter. Just gotta clean it right before, obviously. And then, so if I put it out there and then you just fold it into a ball and put it into one of these things, which I forget what it's called at the moment. Put it in there, and then I just put plastic wrap on here, looking for a better alternative because I do use a lot of it and I don't really like that, but whatever. So this one is whole wheat. I made a whole wheat one last night and I made a white one. And again, I just kind of go with what's working. Like I'm like, wow, I still have a lot of this sourdough starter. So just gonna go with what's working. I just realized I had a lot of sourdough starter when I made the one, and I was like, I'm gonna make another one. And if our family doesn't eat it, which we probably, I don't know if we would, I'll give it away, right? So somebody else can have it. And it's just, I don't know. Obviously it uses more flour and things like that, but I was just happy to make it. So we'll see. And then I can have more fun with it. Okay. But this one, I am hoping to do this new sourdough bread with because I have some ideas to do with it. But a couple things that I love about sourdough bread. Number one, I know exactly what ingredients are going into it. They're very simple. I use unbleached flour, organic, and it's flour, salt, water. And that's, yeah, and sourdough starter is just flour and water. And so I know exactly what's going into it. I feel like it tastes 100 times better than the store bought kind. And then on top of that, like, it's just really good. It's really good to be able to do that. And then I can sometimes give it away, which is nice. And I just enjoy it. It's kind of therapeutic. It's honestly, it's not time consuming. It's more time cautious, I would say. It's a little just more time cautious. I don't think it's time consuming. I think you just gotta be aware of the timeline of things. A lot of different recipes will tell you to like a timeline that they use. But you can go through a recipe and just see, okay, I'm gonna need a bunch of time here to keep checking on it. And it's a great, like, I use that time to get something else done. So if I have 30 minutes, I'm like, okay, I need to get this done and this done before I gotta be back here to do the next rotation. So it kind of puts me on a fun little like time task. And so the last thing I just wanna share is when the sourdough starter is on the counter, you're supposed to feed it every day. I mean, I'm not perfect at it. There's definitely been a couple days that I've forgotten, but if I am feeling like I'm being way too forgetful about it, I'll sit it in the fridge and then get to it, like knowing like in my head, I need to get to this, put it on my calendar, figure out a time to do it. It's not that like picky, but I will say that when I am a little bit more neglectful to it, it's not very nice to me. Like it takes a while to get it back into active mode, right? Kind of like us. We get out of the gym and then, oh my goodness, how you get back. So same thing with your sourdough starter. Trying to think if there's any other questions that people usually ask me, but basically, it's I would say it's kind of simple. And I'm a very, like I said, I'm not very organized, maybe is the word to use, but I go with the flow. I'm more of a go with the flow kind of person, and it works well. It does work well for me. And I know a lot of people, when it comes to baking and things like that, that type of brain is more like a type. Like they're very analytical. They know everything about everything, and they figure it out, and they have like this detailed thing. And I didn't do that, and it works well for me. And people love my bread. A couple things that I do have is a scale. I know a lot of the sourdough people use a scale, and I loved it actually. I never was a scale person before, and so I was like, oh, what is this gonna be like? But actually, I love it. Use a lot less utensils to measure things, because you're just putting it right in. Like you put the bowl on the scale and you like zero it out, and then every time you put in like 500 grams of flour, you zero it out. So you can put it right into here from the bag or from the container that you're getting it out of, versus putting it into a measuring cup and then putting it in here. And then if you've ever worked with dough and flour and water, it can get a lot of gunkiness. So it's less of that to deal with when you're watching it. Another tip I learned was using cold water when you're rinsing off any sourdough or like flour water mixture, because that activates it. We don't want to activate it. We want to put it out, right? So, that's about it. Glass bowls are better, I think, from what I've read. So I do try to use glass bowls or metal. Try not to use plastic. And then what else? I can't really think of what else, but I will say that I have a very simple recipe for discard. So when a lot of times I don't like to waste my starter. You're supposed to like cut it in half so that when you put the ingredients again, it won't, because every time you're supposed to double it, right? And so if I double this, it would be everywhere, right? So I'd have to discard it before I feed it. And so I don't really like to throw it away. So what I'll do, if it's not like if it's in its active state, I'll just use it for regular sourdough bread. If it's in its like deflated state, like then it's a discard, right? I'm not gonna use it for an active thing because it's not gonna do what it's supposed to do for your bread. It's gonna be flat bread. It's not gonna taste right. So anyways, there are discard recipes. My favorite is from Pantry Mama, and she has this. It's a sourdough loaf bread, and you use discard. The thing is, you also use yeast. So I think in place of the fact of an active sourdough starter, you're using yeast, which brings it alive. And so I use that one for my sandwich bread, and it's so good and soft. When I make that though, I have to remember that I have to have 60 grams of butter out on the counter. So I do have a butter dish, but it's not always full. I don't know if anybody else has a butter dish that they leave on the counter, but if it's not full, it's kind of pain when you need soft butter and you think you have it, but you don't. So those are my two like go-to. So I have this Best Beginner sourdough bread recipe from, this one is from the Prairie Homestead. And I just got this from Pinterest. I think I typed in beginner sourdough bread recipe. I probably typed that exact thing in, and there it is, the best one popped up. And I really do. She has a video. I'm a video person, especially if I don't know what folding means and things like that, which a lot of you might not know. And it is very simple, but once you see, you have to watch somebody do it, I feel like, in my opinion. So those are the things that I do. I feed my sourdough starter. Again, if it's out on the counter, it's because I want to be making stuff with it. Otherwise, it's in my fridge, and I try to put it in the fridge right after I feed it. But sometimes I've been neglecting it, and I'm like, it needs to go in the fridge just to kind of stop. Just like I need a pause real quick. And then I pay attention to how long timelines are so that I can have that longest, like the 8-hour one overnight to do that kind of stuff. And then it's just keep rolling with it. So let me know if you have any questions. I'd love to answer them. And the last thing I'm going to do is kind of tie this together with hydro sessions, because that's also something I've been trying to share about on Tuesdays or Wednesdays. I don't know what day it is. Wednesdays is our hydro session. And I wanted to share that a lot of the things that happen with sourdough is the same things that happen with skincare. There is an outline. There is a guide to do a hydro session. I don't always follow it. I don't have this regimen, like gotta follow it kind of system for my skincare. And so that's actually why I like the hydro session, is because it is something that can like reboot my skin into a great state of hydration without necessarily following it every single day. I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, right? And so it's just a great way to reset that all in one moment of like, you know what? I'm just gonna do this right now. Oops. So if you're interested in learning more about a hydro session, for one, I have a video of how to back, if you like scroll back in here in our group. And then two is I can always get together and like go through that with you and like walk you through it. It's almost like an instructional facial is what you would call it, because I'm going to instruct you, help you, teach you all about what these products do for your skin while you get to reap the benefits of it and see and feel it for yourself right then and there. We also have packets that we put together to mail out. We have fresh packets that are getting ready to be put together now because I just got a shipment in. So if you're interested in just getting that package in the mail and maybe doing it at home session, just based on, you can either do it on your own. It comes with a little card that tells you what order to go in, or you can, or I can give you a video that just walks you through it.